On this upcoming Attractions episode, we've got trailers for Dune, Freaky, Hubie Halloween, and a whole lot more. There's some new Oscar news, plus our review for The Social Dilemma. All this and a whole lot more on upcoming Attractions Midnight Double Feature. And we're back. I was just saying it feels like it's been months since we last recorded, but it's only been 2 weeks. How are we doing, buddy?
That's how you know that you're having fun, because it feels like it's been forever. So yeah. Man, I'm doing good, dude. Like it's we've been busy, haven't we? Like we like in life in general, like we've been busy, but also podcasting wise, we've been busy. Like we just dropped our 4th bonus episode. How good is that?
Yeah. Well, the other day I was busy. I told you I was smashed. You thought I was just drunk.
Look, when you said smash, I was like, okay.
Look, I don't blame you for thinking that. One of my earliest stories on the podcast is you reading a drunk text message of me on here. I think it was like episode 3 or some shit.
Right, but context. I thought you were drunk because you told, hey Siri, send a message to Zoheb, and then you were like, and then you sent your message. And Siri sent the whole, like, hey, Siri, send a message to Zoheb. So I was like, okay, he's clearly fucked that he can't even type. Like, you know?
I do that when I drive a lot. I'll do that I only really do it to my girlfriend, but I'm trying to, like, be better at not touching my phone while I drive now.
Wow.
And Siri can do most things. Like, it's just annoying when I wanted to play a song off Spotify. She keeps trying to go to Apple Music, an app I do not use. And so it'll be like, you don't have fucking, I don't know, Kanye West on Apple Music. It's like, no, you dumb bitch, go to Spotify. She doesn't learn.
An Apple product doesn't use an Apple product. How mind-blowing.
Right? I know, right? It's like every single time, it's like passive aggressively trying to convince me to get Apple Music. Yeah, it's fucking sly dogs. But yeah. Let's get into this episode. But before we do that, for all our new listeners, Zoheb, where can they find us?
Yeah, look, I don't care where you can find us, but just become a member. Like that's no, I'm kidding.
Of the Patreon.
Look, yeah. So we recently launched our Patreon, which is called the Green Room. Basically, that's if you like what you're hearing. Maybe not on this episode, but like any other episode, if you like what you hear. I'm just kidding. You can head to midnightdoublefeatures.com, and via that website, which is our website, which is, dude, I love saying that domain name, like midnightdoublefeatures.com.
It's good, right?
It's fantastic.
We're legit now. We are legit. It took us almost 200 episodes, but we're legit.
That's where you can sign up to become a member of the Green Room, and that's where you get bonus episodes. So, right now in the bonus feed, we kicked it off with a full-on feature presentation of The Mummy. Then we did a commentary track of Daredevil. We've got 2 kind of like conversation-style episodes with just me and Colin. The latest one we dropped yesterday. Dude, we did... Okay, so Colin asked the question, what if you had to remake an episode of the podcast, like redo an episode, which one would you do? And we kind of like sat there for an hour, and we went through a few, because we talked about like episodes that had technical difficulties and like things like that, and we were just like, man, like I chose some that were like doozies. So if you wanna like listen to those, listen to that particular episode, go back, head to midnightdoublefeatures.com to become a member of the Green Room. And look, seeing as I've already plugged the green room, like I'm assuming you know where to find us already. But if you don't, the after party is our main sort of hub. That's where our community comes together and talks all things movies. We post memes, news, and teasers of what's to come here on Midnight Double Feature. Just recently, we posted the tease for the next feature presentation, which is going to be.
And the after party is a Facebook group, by the way.
Yeah, isn't that what I said?
No, you skipped past it.
Oh,
We've done this so many times. It's like,
yeah. Honestly, it's like I've kind of like got a script in my head. So like, maybe I just skipped a page. But look, we're covering David Fincher's Seven next, which I'm super excited for. That's a top 10 movie of mine. It's like a huge pick. And I've been like waiting to pick that for a very long time. And I'm just like, you know what? The time has come. We're covering David Fincher's Seven, and here we go. But look, if you're not on Facebook, you can keep up to date with us on Instagram, which is at Midnight Double Feature, and Twitter, which our handle is at MDF Pod. And if you want to, if you want to rock some Midnight Double Feature swag that I'm wearing currently, that I like, dude, I wear the shirt like 24/7. It smells like shit. I'm not breathing in through my nose. But if you want to get merch, head to midnightdoublefeature.com. Again, like that's the website. Pretty much you can find anything through the website. You can get t-shirts and mugs, and we ship everywhere globally. But yeah, we're really excited about that. We've got some great participation in the after party. There's been a few people who've been posting photos of themselves in the t-shirts, which is amazing to see.
Really cool. Really cool.
Like super amazing. So thank you so much, guys. And thank you so much to our patrons who continue to help keep the lights on here at Midnight Double Feature, because it's not cheap to run a podcast. And we have been losing money for the last 2.5 years. So hopefully now we get to, at least break even.
One day we're on the road to breaking even.
Right, exactly.
It's a nice dream. We can dream.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's kick things off. What do I want to start with? I want to start with, dude, they just announced The Walking Dead is ending, and normally I wouldn't bring this up.
You've lost me already.
That's my point. That's my point. That's my point. The reason I wanted to bring it up is like, who the fuck cares? This show literally died at least 5 years ago. Like, to say that is generous. It is insane to think it's still on the air, but apparently it was just getting heaps of views still. It was doing good numbers for AMC. I don't know why. It had some of the worst writing on television. For the last few years, I went through it. I left when Rick died. Spoilers for like season fucking 8 or some shit. I don't know. And only reason I stayed on is because I was listening to a podcast that would review every episode and break it down. And for the last 3 years, they were just like, we hate this show. We only do this because people keep asking us to do it. We fucking hate it. And then like towards the end of it, like they're just like, we can't do this. We're canceling the podcast because we hate the show. We used to like it. Now we hate it. And then when that podcast ended, I fucking stopped watching the show because it was so fucking painful to watch, man.
Well, it's okay. It's okay because The Walking Dead is not finished, nowhere near finished, because they've got 3 spin-offs currently. So they've got Fear the Walking Dead, which is about to air its 6th season. Then recently, like when they canceled The Walking Dead, they announced that there's going to be 2 spin-offs. One about Carol and Daryl. I hope that's a fucking Lifetime movie, by the way. Yeah. Carol and Daryl.
The only probably interesting characters left, I imagine. I don't know. I haven't seen in like 3 years.
And the other show is called Tales of the Walking Dead, which is an anthology that will allow the franchise to dig into backstories of existing characters, introduce new ones, and tell new stories in the world in standalone episodes or arcs. So
that sounds like the most boring show ever to me.
To be honest, I quit after season 2. I was like,
that's early. That's early.
Dude, they spent like the entire season on the side of the highway looking like with Herschel in the farm or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, look, guys, I'm good. Like I'm fucking good.
So I would say it died. Like it stopped being good around season 4 or 5. But for those
season
who don't
1 was
know,
incredible. Season 1 was actually really incredible.
Well, it kept being good for a while, so it's interesting about season 2.
Didn't. I'm telling you.
Listen to me, Zoheb. I'm going to tell you a good story. I'm going to tell you an interesting story that you will appreciate.
Go.
So I'm guessing you don't know this, but season 2, they spend the whole time at a farm. Do you know why they spent the entire time at a farm?
No.
From behind the scenes? Yeah, so AMC, and they had a showrunner, which I think was there for season 1 and part of season 2, and they fired him for the way he spent the budget.
I know this.
So they went to court and all this shit, and so then AMC were pretty much like,
is? It's Frank Darabont, who directed Shawshank Redemption and
that's it, yeah.
Green Mile. Yeah, this was a huge thing.
So they had like no budget for season 2, so they had to just reuse sets and shit, which is like kind of fucking sad. Which is kind of incredible to think the show survived after something like that. But yeah, I think the show, it kicked off some interesting like careers for some people, but oh man, it got so bad. And I can't believe it's getting all these spin-offs. Like it had a good run for like a little bit. And don't forget the guy who played Rick is meant to have 3 movies coming out. When he left the show, it was because they were going to make 3 Walking Dead movies around him.
I feel like I'm living in a hellscape.
Look, let's move on. It sounds like much like a zombie, The Walking Dead will never die. And, shouts to the fans. If you are, for some reason, a fan of that show, you must be on cloud nine because AMC have basically become the Walking Dead channel at this point.
Actually, before we do move on, something really interesting that I thought of. So AMC have kind of owned the zombie space on TV for a very long time now, right? With Walking Dead.
You'd think it'd be sci-fi, but yeah, all right. Yeah, it's AMC.
Well, Netflix are about to have Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, and recently it was announced that 2 new spin-offs, a series, an animated series is in the works or something like that, and a prequel series.
Is this for Army of the Dead?
Yes, correct. So that's Netflix. So it's going to be like, oh, okay, so there's like 2 superpowers fighting over the zombie space.
What's crazy to me is even when Walking Dead came out, there was this feeling of, zombies have been done to death. When you think about it, like...
Literally.
Yeah, but like when you really think about it, how many good zombie movies are there that are real zombie movies? I'm talking not a comedy, not like Overlord where they're like almost zombies, but technically not. Like there's like some of the old George A. Romero ones, 28 Days Later, and I think that's it. So it's kind of weird how... Like, sure, they've been done to death in video games, but it just feels so done. But there's so few good examples of good
well,
ones.
I mean, people like to get into the whole, like, technically they're not zombies, they're infected. Dude, they're zombies. I'm sorry.
They're fucking zombies,
don't get me started with the whole, they're mindless, they walk like zombies. Like they're zombies, dude. I'm telling you. It's the same thing. It's the same shit. I don't care where they came from. It's the same shit. Like, and to be honest, I'm done. I don't give a fuck. If you can layer in a good human story, because that's what makes a good zombie movie. Like a human story. Like it's that's literally it. And if you can't do that, then sorry, you don't have me as an audience member.
Well, where Walking Dead shined the strongest was the whole story was the real monsters is humanity, which is a cool point. But when you do it to death for every episode for 10 years, you're done. And I think this is my last comment I'll make on Walking Dead. Everything I feel like is wrong with modern drama television is in that show. And I remember just when I started if you compare something like Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad to Walking Dead, there's such a clear difference in quality because while something like Game of Thrones, people have always in Game of Thrones, anyone can die. Well, not really, but in Walking Dead, anyone really could die, but it was always just based on contracts and shit. Every mid-season finale, a main character died. Every season premiere, there's a good chance someone would die. Every finale, 1 or 2 main characters would die. And what would happen is you might like a character and then 1 season later they'll be dead. And so it's why the fuck do I want to watch a show when there are no characters I like? The reason you keep coming back to a television show is because there are characters that you are invested in. If you keep killing off your cast, who's going to give a fuck? And I think that's the misconception I think some writers have these days where they're or at least at one point in time where they're if characters die, we get to surprise the audience and everyone will tune in. It's yeah, but if you don't leave us with anything to like, there's no reason for us to like the show.
Well, I know this isn't your point, but wait, why do you not think that anybody can die in Game of Thrones? I'm thinking about the Red Wedding specifically because
Okay, well, so for context, for anyone who doesn't know, I got into Game of Thrones much later than everyone else. I knew the Red Wedding was something to look forward to. I knew some characters would die. I didn't know who would die. But I felt by watching it, the characters who died at the Red Wedding, I was not particularly connected to any of those people. Except for Ned Stark, when he died at the end of season 1, that was holy fuck, I never saw that coming. But after Ned... I knew John was going to stick around. They almost got me when he kind of died, but I knew Khaleesi wasn't going to die. I knew Peter Dinklage wasn't going to die.
I think Robb Stark was up there for me though. If there was one character out of the Red Wedding and Catelyn Stark, what the fuck? Robb and Catelyn Stark were huge.
Look to your point. She had a lot of screen time, so to have her go is a bit shocking. But I didn't see her as super important still. But that was just my perception at the time.
Yeah.
I haven't watched those episodes in forever. Maybe if I go back, I would change my mind.
Yeah, I've seen it 3 times through. So I think if you watch it again, Catelyn's got a lot of like a lot of heft to her.
Well, regardless, man, like you look at Ned, he was, if you had to pick the main character of the show for season 1, it's Ned Stark.
Yeah, it's Ned Stark, but that's from the book. Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, but seeing him die, like that was insane. Like that I never would have seen coming. And it does really set up that precedent of anyone could die. But after once I got to season 4 or something, I was like, okay, I know Daenerys isn't going to die because then they have to get rid of this entire, all these locations, this entire plot line. But that's probably just me being a film fucking nerd and letting it ruin for me. Let's move on though. From I got no segue for this.
Yeah, it's terrible. Just don't worry about it. Let's just go.
Yeah, the Oscars have done some interesting moves with introducing some new guidelines for Best Picture. It's only for Best Picture. They're I think we call them diversity requirements. And these aren't super strict. There are basically I think 4 categories and the film must meet at least 2 of the categories. And each category there are 3 options. So there's there's a lot of ways to meet these quotas, but basically it comes down to we need a certain amount of representation of minority groups. So it's just a way to ensure that it's not a complete boys club. It's not a complete white boys club, which, I don't think is the case nowadays, but I'm sure 20 years ago it was that was a thing. And I still hear stories every now and then of when that is an issue. But I think it's a really great move that they're doing here. I believe off the top of my head, some of the requirements were you could either have 30% of your lead cast to be of minority groups. That could be of nationality, gender, sexuality, whatever. Then there's others it could be, but it doesn't have to be that. It could also be the creative team or even just higher ups in the studio. Or I think there's a 4th one. Interns that you bring on, or the fact that you're training. So while your production may not meet those requirements, maybe you're helping usher in a new generation.
I'm wondering. Okay, so can you just answer me this? Because I didn't really have too much of a look at this. So there's 2 standards. So there's standard A and standard B. Do you need to satisfy at least one from both, or at least one? So at least one from one. So okay, so standard A. Let me finish this just before you talk.
Yeah.
Standard A, only one of these following 3 criteria needs to be met. So this is standard A. At least one actor from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group must be cast in a significant role. The story must center on women, LGBTQ people, a racial or ethnic group, or the disabled. Or at least 30% of the cast must be actors from at least 2 of those 4 underrepresented categories. So that's standard A, right?
Yeah. Well, there's actually 4. There's a C and D as well.
Oh, is there? Oh.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
In the after party, if you see Carlos's post, it's all listed there.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. So standard B. Sorry, I'm getting this from New York Times. Sorry.
That's right. That's right. I think those 2 are the most important ones, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So standard B is focused on hiring behind the scenes and asks productions to meet at least one of the following criteria: 2 or more department heads, meaning jobs like director, cinematographer, or composer, must be female, LGBTQ, disabled, or part of an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. At least 6 other crew members must be from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. And at least 30% of the film's crew must hail from the 4 underrepresented groups continually laid out in these guidelines. So, do you need to satisfy one from each standard, or do you need to satisfy at least just one from one standard?
So it's so out of the 4 standards, you only got to satisfy 2 of them. And within each standard, so I think a lot of them have about 3 options. And I think, from my understanding, you have to satisfy 1. So, for example, with standard B, the 3 options in standard B are creative, leadership, and department heads. And then that's B1 list, and then there's B2, which is other key roles. And there's B3, which is overall crew and crew composition. And so you've only got to hit either B1, B2, or B3, and then you've all satisfied all of standard B. And that means you're already there, and you've got to do another one. And then once you've done that, you're eligible for Best Picture.
Wait, but it says you only need to satisfy at least one of B.
Yeah, so you can satisfy more. You have the option to.
Oh, okay.
But once you satisfy one of them, it means you've fulfilled standard B, and that means you only have to fulfill one other standard.
Oh, okay, I get you. So technically, you only need either one. So you can either do either one from A and one from B, and you're good, right?
Yeah, that'd be one way to do it. There are other ways you can approach it, but that'd be right. Yeah.
Yeah. So my apologies to Carlos. There is a standard C and D. C requires one of the two criteria to be met. Film's distributor or financing company must have at least 2 interns from underrepresented group, or the film's production, distribution, or financing company must offer training or work opportunities. Yeah, so this was like because like initially I had like some hang-ups about this, but again, initially I kind of like glanced over it and I didn't read it in full, because the first movie that I actually thought of was a movie that didn't really jump out to me as diverse, but was still nominated as Best Picture and deserved to be nominated as Best Picture, was The Irishman. That was a movie that was, cast primarily all white people, directed by a white director, no females at all in this movie, right? It's a boys' club. But,
pretty much, yeah.
But it did employ a female casting director and a Mexican cinematographer. So there you go.
Yeah, and those are pretty big roles. I don't know how they judge how significant a crew role is, but like without a doubt, cinematographer is one of the biggest department heads.
It's got to be a department head. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how they would classify casting director, but I know for sure cinematographer, that is one of the major, biggest department heads of a production. But yeah, so maybe even if they didn't fulfill that, they could just also just hire a bunch of interns and train them up on this crew that just meet that criteria, and they would have been okay. So I'm not saying that they did pass it, but I think when you have a production of that magnitude, you would have to go out of your way to accidentally not meet these. Like,
yeah, right. It's a $200 million movie. Like, exactly.
Yeah,
like,
if you've got 100 people, like you only need 30 of those 100 people to be either female, gay, or not white, which is very easy to come across. You would have to go out of your way to not meet that criteria. And that's unless you're some sort of like purposely racist movie or something.
And that's something that was kind of interesting, because I did see, like, in the comments, how everyone likes to voice their opinion, blah, blah, blah. Like, I mean, like, I guess that's what we're doing, but whatever. Like, people talk about like how that this is such a, a leftist move. Like, like it's such a kind of like, like, look, I'm not saying this at all. I'm just, I'm really very much for this. But like, you do get people who are like, oh, look, this is just attention grabbing. Like, they're only just doing this just to get people's attention and like trying to be with the times because, hashtag Oscars so white, blah, blah, blah. But that what you just said is a fantastic counter to that, because they're not restrictive at all. Like, the rules aren't restrictive. Like, they're actually very, I'm not going to say loose. They're not super loose, but they're also not hard to satisfy.
Yeah, like, honestly, the people that people are saying, oh, leftists, this is the one, or this, and blah, blah. Those people who are fighting for all these representation, I'm surprised aren't angry at this, because I thought they would be more like, you need more. This isn't good enough, Because honestly, at the end of the day, when you really look into it, they're not asking for much.
It's very minimal. It's very minimal. Like, it's very like, like it's very basic. But I mean, like, look, I like it is
but
what
it's
it is.
fair.
I think
it's also fair. I think
it's a step in the right direction for sure.
100%.
Like,
Yeah, and I just want to say also from my personal experience, as someone who's entered in like very small film festivals on the indie circuit, I have seen film festivals, obviously nothing like the Oscars, but I have seen ones who have had similar.
I'm pretty sure I saw She's Not Your Type on the ballot.
Oh, I wish. But I have seen
that, ladies and gentlemen, is what it sounds like when a man blushes.
Oh, God. Now I really am blushing. Yeah, so my point is, I have seen festivals take on similar approaches. Like, I've seen ones where it's like, you're not eligible to even enter this festival unless you have 2 females in major roles, or 2 people of LGBTQI plus stuff. I've seen that before, and I got to say, like, at least from my perspective, it works. Like, if I want to get into these things and I want to be eligible, it's going to motivate me to include more people, like, so it's not all from the same perspective. And it's honestly a win-win for no matter what, because having more people of different like backgrounds and lifestyles, it's going to make your projects more like, it's going to help you fuck up less. Like if you look at a movie like Gods of Egypt, right, which is a movie about Egypt starring completely white people, if they just had one person on the creative team who was just like, had any relation to being from Egypt, they'd have been, hey guys, I know we're not here for historical accuracy, but this movie could be perceived as kind of racist. And this is like what cultural appropriation is 101. Maybe if we just didn't just change the way we cast people a little bit different, we can save ourselves from a whole lot of backlash, which is what that movie got. And I'm sure there's a million other examples too. So there are like benefits to this too. So for those people who are out there like, oh, this is, how dare they're limiting creative shit. No, they're not. Like, even if you have a small production with only like 10 members of the cast, if they're all dudes, your movie's going to be a sausage fest, bro. Nobody, like that's a little weird. And you tell me you just can't find one female to be a producer for your project. Like, it's not hard to do. And it's a step in the right direction, I think, because, this is a response, I think, to Oscars So White. And you, like I said, I think if you had like hundreds of people employed and you did not meet this criteria, I think it says something on how you run your shit. Because I doubt, because that would imply that you've rejected a whole bunch of people's like applications based on race or gender or something. And that's fucked up. And that's not a world I want to live in. I'm good to move on though, unless you got any other points to raise.
No. And like, look, I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but I'm just going to say this. And look, like you said, it is a win-win, but if you have a filmmaker who is trying to get their film into Best Picture, into the Best Picture category, is it, and they do satisfy like these requirements on purpose, right? So they see the requirements, they're like, all right, we're going to do this, going to do this, going to do this. Are they doing it for the right reasons?
That's a good point. And look, if you're doing that for that, like you're probably not doing it for the right reasons. But
the reality speaks for itself, right? I mean, like, yes, they're not doing it for the right reasons morally, but in reality, 2 people got hired that probably wouldn't have, right?
Exactly. And that's like what it is. See, I think the way that we got to where we are now with the industry is because back in the day, people who basically weren't straight white dudes weren't given opportunities. And so people had to fight their way out to get there. Like, who knows what people like fucking what the hell did Spike Lee have to go through to get to where he is, being because he's been around for a while. And like, how many other like black directors can I name off the top of my head that have a resume like his? Not many. So like, he probably had to fight tooth and nail to get to where he is. And there could be like 10 more of him, but we just never saw him because they weren't given the chance. And so if we're just like ushering in the new generation and giving more fair opportunities, like who knows where we could be in 10 years,
Yeah.
It probably just means it's probably going to mean better quality in general. But let's move on a little bit. I got one more piece of news before we get into trailers. We got one more piece of news to get into trailers before we go on. It's just a real quick thing, but apparently Borat has a sequel and it's already filmed and it's been screened already, which is bonkers because Borat is probably one of the most noticeable characters ever, and the original was pretty much improvised and getting crowd reactions. So I want to start off with, what are your thoughts on the original Borat?
Oh, I love the original Borat. I mean, like, I think for people our age, it's kind of like, it's kind of like ingrained in our heads, right? Like, we grew up with it, basically. And we watched it even when we were too young to watch it and understand it, right? I mean, like, I had no idea what Love Explosion was in the 7th grade. Oh, actually, I was learning about it. But, like, at the same time, I remember people talking about it in the 7th grade, dude. Like, I was like, people were talking about, like, nice and, like, like, what am I Borat? Like, and it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? And I remember, like, people talking about the mankini and all that shit, dude. And, like, Yeah, and then like people like weirdly invested in like Pamela Anderson, and I'm just like, who is that? Like, you know, kind of thing. But yeah, look, it's it's just stupid, but it's fucking hilarious, dude.
It's probably if you had to make a list of top 10 most quotable movies, it's probably going to be in the top 5, honestly, with the amount of people who have quoted. Or I'm willing to bet there are people out there doing Borat impersonations who've never even seen the movie. Like, that's how popular I think that character was. And to think it came from like a weird little segment from a TV show is insane. But since then, like, obviously Sacha Baron Cohen's blown up. He's done a whole bunch of other characters. His comedy has gone in a really intelligent direction, I feel, where he'll use these like characters to expose people for their shit. Like, very recently, I don't know if you saw it, but he had a show called This Is America. Just kind of his response to the 2016 election.
Couldn't stand it.
It was very hit and miss, man. There were some episodes and some bits that are real bad. Actually, but there were some parts that were so hilarious. Funny. That's the thing. Yeah. Like, there was some that was so fucking good, and he legit got Congress people like fired because he got this one white dude to start screaming the N-word. He literally got some senator to like bite a fake penis off.
But here's the thing, like, how much of this is real and how much of this is staged? We honestly will never know. Like, some of it is very staged. Like I can tell what's staged sometimes. Like, you know, like it's and like they will, like, the media will report it as, you know, legitimate. But, you know, like it's not, it won't be that way. Like, you know, like some of it, it's really hard to tell, especially with a character like Borat, and Bruno, I guess, to a lesser extent, where people really know him. Like, you know, people really like know who Sacha Baron Cohen is.
Right. So that's a thing I want to get to. So Sacha Baron Cohen has become really famous over time, and he wants to do that comedy where he's a character and you don't know it's him, but it's getting harder and harder to do, right? Like with Borat, that movie is probably like 80% a reality show, which is some little story bits put in between things to tie it together. But then with Bruno, there's less of that. And then eventually started doing movies like Dictator and Brothers Grimsby, where it's all just like acted out. I
actually really like The Dictator. I think it's fucking hilarious.
Dude, you know me. It's got Jason Mantzoukas. But
employees must wash hands.
The Porsche 911. But yeah, like when they did This America, like to get him unrecognizable, they did so many prosthetics. I imagine it would be so hard to fucking move in those things. I have a feeling, and I hope I'm wrong, but I have a feeling that Borat 2 will be completely acted out. Just because, how do you do a show like Borat, like a movie like Borat, and like have people not recognize him?
So I'm just reading the Collider article, and Collider was they had the exclusive that broke this news. But they said that the public knows who he is now, so he has to go undercover to interview people. One source described the film as, quote, Cohen playing Borat playing Cohen. But since we published this story, another source reached out to refute that description while still confirming the project's existence. I mean, like, look, when it comes out, it'll be an hour and 20 movie, regardless. Like, you know, we've spent already 10% of the movie's runtime talking about this. Like, you know, like it's just one of those things.
That would be interesting if like Borat like dressed up and tried to be someone else to get away with it.
Boratception.
Yeah, Boratception. There we go. It would be interesting. Either way, obviously, I'm there day one. And this is a good segue.
Thank God. I was hoping you were going to use it. I was really hoping it because it was right there.
So I think a few episodes ago.
Can I do it?
Okay, sure. You do it.
Okay. So Sacha Baron Cohen is hilarious. You know, like his comedy to me is mostly hit then miss. But in more recent days, he's been taking some very, very good dramatic roles. He actually had his own series. Did you know about this?
I know of it. I haven't seen it though.
So he had a series very recently called The Spy, where he played a real Israeli person named Eli Cohen. Apparently, it was really good. I didn't get to finish it. I started it on Netflix, but I didn't get to finish it. But today, the trailer came out for his new project, and he's not the lead in this. He's one of the few. It's a huge ensemble cast. And when I say huge, I mean huge, like massive. And probably the biggest name, if anything, well, to me, is the writer and director Aaron Sorkin. This is The Trial of the Chicago 7, which is a Netflix film coming out in October. And man, I am stoked. Like, I am talking, the trailer for this is outstanding, dude.
So the first thing I picked up is, this is an official trend now. This trailer is edited the exact same way as Judas and the Black Messiah, which we did last episode. And I'm noticing this is a big trend now. I think this is like the new way to cut trailers. Like back in the 90s, it was I'm with it. It's cool, but like back in the 90s, it was always like in a world, or she was a happy girl and he was a cool guy. And then it was like Inception came along, so every trailer was like bah! And then we had that new trend when it was always get a pop song but make it creepy and have someone do a cover of it. And now it seems to be like having angry protesters yell something. It could even be like Black Panther going, E-Bombay or something, and just have that repeat as the music gets more and more intense. But I'm for it. It's cool, man. It's cool.
I think you're making that comparison because Trial of Chicago 7 and Judas and the Black Messiah are actually similar types of stories, like very similar.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
It's that revolution, kind of like rise up against the power kind of like thing, right? Like this Trial of Chicago 7 is, in 1968, DNC kind of situation, Vietnam, whatever. Whereas like, Judas and Black Messiah is all about black rights and Black Lives Matter. But look, man, this looks outstanding. Like the cast of this, dude. Let me read some names. Eddie Redmayne, right? Oscar winner, Eddie Redmayne.
And Razzie winner too, right?
I think, did he win for Jupiter Ascending?
I know he got nominated. I assume he won. But anyway, sorry. Oscar winning Eddie Redmayne. Continue.
Okay. So Oscar winner Eddie Redmayne. Oscar winner Mark Rylance for Bridge of Spies, right?
Woo!
We already talked about Sacha Baron Cohen. Dude, fucking Batman himself, Michael Keaton.
Woo!
Oh, man. John Carroll Lynch, who actually played the Zodiac in Zodiac. Frank Langella, who's been in a bunch of shit. I'm not going to go down it. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who played...
Aquaman. He's the bad guy in Aquaman,
Yes.
Black Manta.
Yeah, and look, last but not least, fucking Joseph Gordon-Levitt, dude. And like...
I was waiting, like, how long is it going to take for me to get Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Dude, JGL, I'm telling you in this trailer, JGL, he can rock a fucking suit, dude. He looks classy as fuck.
Hey, yeah, I agree.
Hit record Joe himself.
Yeah. Look, hey, do you know much about like what this is based on? Because I don't.
Yeah, so I don't know too much, and purposefully so. Like, I try not to... this has been on my radar for actually a while. When I heard that Aaron Sorkin was directing a movie, I actually think the news of this broke after he wrote Steve Jobs in 2015. So I think it's been 5 years in development actually. So I definitely remember following it, and I remember it being a courtroom drama, like a legal drama. And I was like, if there's anyone who can write dialogue for a legal drama, it's Aaron Sorkin. But look, I only have the plot line, the very vague plot line. The story of 7 people on trial stemming from various charges surrounding the uprising at the 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago, Illinois. I'm purposely not looking into it any further than that. But I mean, like, look, gleaning from the trailer, it's about human rights, and it's about the government encroaching on those human rights. And those, to me, especially recently, are some of my favorite movies. Like we talked about, you and I watched The Post, and The Post is a movie that I love because it's just about it's about the little guy winning over the big guy, specifically Richard Nixon. And yeah, man, I'm absolutely stoked. And this is coming to Netflix, which is the best part, in October, which is incredible.
I actually don't know the answer to this, but I know it's coming up. Do you know when the American presidential election is happening?
November.
This year? Yeah,
November.
Right. So yeah, I think the release date for this is no coincidence. I think it is that, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if Borat has some sort of political ties too, because I feel like Sacha Baron Cohen is really into political comedy these days. Let's move on to another trailer. Do you just want to get the big one out of the way? Because I know you can't wait to talk about it.
Oh, can we please? Please.
All right. Zoheb, your most anticipated film of the year, I believe.
Yeah.
We finally got a trailer for it. What are your thoughts on Dune?
Yeah, dude. Look, more so anticipate. So there was two movies that I was really anticipating this year. It's Tenet and Dune. I mean, like Tenet was an original Christopher Nolan movie, and I was only excited for it originally because it's a next Christopher Nolan movie, right? Whereas, like,
rightly so as well. Like,
right, exactly. Like, I'm not taking anything away from that movie at all. Like, I fucking love that movie. But Dune is a book. Like, it's an adaptation based on a book that I'm halfway through, and like, don't worry, man. Like, this trailer kind of like it kicked me in my ass to finish this book before it comes out. But Dune is a science fiction movie directed by Denis Villeneuve, who, and I'm on record with saying is my favorite director. Like, you know, we played the MDF game where we chose our favorite directors, I think, or something like that. And I don't know. So the question came up or something. And I was like, you know, you guessed Christopher Nolan. And I was like, no, sir, you are wrong. Yeah. Because there is no other director in probably modern history that has had as great of a decade as Denis Villeneuve, dude. Starting off with Enemy. Actually, Enemy might have been in the aughts, but whatever. Look, I'm starting it off with Prisoners, right? 2013 Prisoners, 2015 Sicario, which is my favorite movie ever. When Arrival is 2016, and then Blade Runner 2049 is 2018. So just that run of movies, dude, it's just like holy fucking shit.
When you were saying there's no other director has ever, and like before you said has had a run, I thought you were going to say no other director has ever directed Sicario, because I know how much you love that movie.
Well, that's 100% true. Yeah, man, look, he is kind of like on record for saying that Dune is like his dream project. Like, even like before directing Blade Runner 2049, someone asked him if he was given an infinite amount of money, what would he direct? And he's like, Dune. I want to be able to do Dune. Dune is very briefly, I'm just going to go through this. It's a 1965 novel written by a guy named Frank Herbert, and it's a science fiction book. And Matt, I'll give you kind of like a rundown of the plot, right? Like, because I don't think you're like, how much do you know about Dune?
This is what I know about Dune, besides the fact that you're excited about it. I know that everyone who talks about Dune, they always bring up the fact that it influenced Star Wars.
Yes.
And it was like one of the OGs. Here's something else I know about Dune, just from reading Facebook comments, which made me do some digging. This isn't the first time it's been adapted as a film.
No.
And I can't believe it, but like David Lynch did one in the 80s.
84.
And it looks terrible. It looks terrible. That I haven't seen it, but the trailer I saw looked horrible. And then just by typing in IMDb, there's also a TV miniseries in the year 2000 as well. And I'm just like, how the fuck did this get on my radar so much? Like, I remember also, I think when Jupiter Ascending was coming out, people were talking about Dune that was an influence on that or something, but that's kind of where I know it is. And it's got something to do with spice.
Yes,
which
so
is drugs in Star Wars, I think.
What? I don't know what that, like, yeah, I guess. But like, anyway, let me hit you with this, right? So 1984 Dune, David Lynch. It is I haven't seen it. I've seen bits and pieces of it. It's not great. It hasn't aged well. But it's definitely got a cult following. Like it 100% does. Like it's got like there are people out there who actually really adore that movie. Kevin Smith being one of them. Actually, he's talked about it quite a bit. But so the story takes place way in the future. There's a planet called Arrakis, which is the sand planet, right? Which is Dune. And that's the planet that actually inspired George Lucas to base Star Wars on Tatooine. That is not a joke. That is legit. That's out there. And basically, there's two families. There's the Atreides family and there's the Harkonnen family. The Atreides family is, quote, the good family. So they kind of inherit this planet. And on this planet is this spice that's being mined called melange, Melange. And basically that resource is what these two families are kind of fighting and warring over. And in the middle of this are the Freemen. So the Freemen are the natives of Dune, of Arrakis, and they're kind of like caught in the middle of this war. The main character is Paul Atreides. He's kind of supposed to be the savior of the Freemen. Now, so like this so you're kind of like, okay, like I've heard of all of this before. Like this doesn't sound like any like new to me, whatever. That's true, but only because we've had Star Wars and all that shit since then, right?
It started all that.
There's literally, you're right. There's literally been so much media about, quote, the chosen one since then. And there are still surprises in Dune. Like, there's still surprises in there that I'm not going to spoil that will actually be like, holy shit, that's actually really original considering, the time that's passed. But when the book was written, it's supposed to be kind of like an allegory for oil and the superpowers that are fighting over oil.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Right. So the spice being the oil, the desert planet being, the Middle East, right? Like it's kind of like all there, and like the Freemen are kind of like technologically not superior, whereas like the Atreides and the Harkonnen are super technologically superior. So like the allegories are there, and that's when Frank Herbert wrote this book as kind of like an allegory to that. So that's like the basic plot. But look, man, like this, like getting into the trailer, this looks fucking outstanding. It's like, I mean, I don't think it's a secret, like that I was gonna have this reaction. It just looks absolutely brilliant. Like the cinematography, the way everything's shot, everything just looks great. This is exactly like how I pictured a Denis Villeneuve Dune movie to look like. Yeah, I mean, like, look, I don't know what else there is to say about it, to be honest. Okay, look, actually, there is something. So before this trailer, they were teasing the release of this trailer in cinemas in front of Tenet and in front of New Mutants. So they kind of played like a minute-long trailer, and this trailer has all of the same exact shots in that are in the actual full-length trailer, but it's kind of like it's set to the full kind of like Denis Villeneuve score and not the Pink Floyd Eclipse song that plays in the actual full-length trailer. And you know me, I actually really, really like I'd rather the score, honestly, so much over than the licensed music. But the licensed music does fit. If you read the actual lyrics of Eclipse, it fits perfectly. And like the choir kind of like, aspect of Eclipse fits really well. I sent you the link for the teaser. Have a listen to the music. Unfortunately, it's in French. They haven't released this in English. But like, look, there's only like 2 lines. Basically, it's the Bene Gesserit priest or witch. She's like, this is a test, whatever. And then he's like, what's in the box? And she's like, pain. And then at the end of the trailer, she says, what will you do? So that's literally the lines of the entire trailer. But just the music itself and having this audio play in a cinema, dude, with like the speakers, it just makes me so excited for Hans Zimmer's score. So here it is. I'm just gonna play it.
Well, before I get into that and react to it, because I haven't heard it yet, what I will say is, so when I saw the trailer the first time, I didn't realize it was a Pink Floyd song. Like when I think of Pink Floyd, like that's not what Pink Floyd sounds like to me.
Yeah.
So I assumed it was part of the score, and that really affected my opinion, I think, on the trailer. Because I'm like, oh, this is a really unique thing to do for a sci-fi movie. Like I know it's shot. Like, if this isn't like a fucking Star Wars, this isn't like a fucking whatever. It's not like a popcorn flick. This is like a serious movie. Probably the closest thing I can probably compare it to, besides I guess Game of Thrones, would be like Lord of the Rings, because it's like it's got all the things in place that a blockbuster would have, but it's treated with the level of sophistication you would like
and respect.
Give it to more Oscar.
You can tell the love is there, right? Like you can tell Denis Villeneuve's love kind of shines through for it.
Yeah, and it's a very mature take. Like, and I don't mean mature as in like, dark and violent. I mean like it's an adult film, So I am very interested to hear the score, because I wonder how it will. I wonder if it'll affect the vibes I get. So
just
before I go in,
be prepared. Like it's not. I don't think it's the full score. I think it's also kind of like, we know that this is the first footage of Dune that's going to be played publicly, so we need it to be as attention grabbing as possible. So like I also really like the cutting in this as well.
Is it cut differently, the trailer?
It is cut differently, and
just the same footage.
yeah, same footage. Well, not all the same footage, right? It's pieces of that footage, but cut differently. So if you guys do want to see this, we actually posted it in the after party. And like, look, you're free to hit me up if you want a link to it. It has been released officially by Warner Brothers Canada France. Maybe it's because Denis Villeneuve is French Canadian. I don't know, but like, yeah. But like, look, here we go. I'm gonna play this. 3, 2, 1,
click. Oh, okay.
L'épreuve est simple. Tu retires ta main de cette boîte et tu meurs.
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a dans la boîte?
La souffrance.
Oh, this is cool. Yeah. This is so different.
Qu'est-ce que tu vas faire?
Cool. That is such a different vibe.
Different vibe, right?
It makes me wonder what's going on. Like, why? Right? Like,
so here's my kind of like take on it. I think the Pink Floyd kind of appeals more to a mass audience. Like, you know, like it's kind of like this is like I don't know. Like I don't know. I feel
but
like
it's not like they picked another brick in the wall, right? It's not like it's Pink Floyd's most well-known song.
Right. No, it's not. But it's also like, you know, it follows that standard trailer trend, right? Like big kind of like well-known song, like big moment, kind of like thing. Like, you know, I don't know. But like I feel like this oh, dude,
that was so much better, I feel.
I know. The
like
the
by
drums,
miles.
dude, the fucking drums, right? Like it's the war drums that get me. Yeah,
and had that weird high-pitched
at the start
synthy sort of note. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was cool.
Yeah, like totally different vibes.
Yeah, that's that was cool. I'm just because I'll admit when I first saw the trailer before with the Pink Floyd's, again, not knowing it was a Pink Floyd song, I even remember thinking this seems a little bit out of place. But it's like, if it's Hans Zimmer, I'm not going to question Hans Zimmer, but it doesn't sound like Hans Zimmer. But like maybe he's doing some shit with the choir or something. But I was like, it's still cool. Like I'm here more for the visuals than I am the audio. But like that's more in line, you know? That sounds more Hans Zimmer. That sounds more sci-fi.
But even
I think
just
that was my big problem before.
Like the cutting is great.
The way it would cut, and then like would have like it's like almost like a reverse sound effect or something to build in, and the impact booms. It was way more cinematic. It was way more. I was way more engaged. I think
right.
that other song. I just really. I have a feeling. I wonder if like they needed to have a cut out, but they like Hans Zimmer wasn't finished in time or something, and they had to use something or.
I don't think so.
Who knows?
Like this is only like this teaser only premiered like probably like 20 days before the trailer. Like, you know, it was like they had it.
Wait, so this came out before the one with the Pink Floyd song?
Yeah, absolutely. This is so. If you look at the trailer,
I thought it came out after.
If you look at the trailer, and I know it's in French, but it says Lee 9 September, which is the date of the full length trailer. So it's teasing the full length trailer.
That's bizarre. I wonder why. Regardless, that score sounds great as always. Can't wait to hear more Hans Zimmer. Let me get into my thoughts kind of in the trailer because I kind of went in pretty blind. don't have a lot to say other than like I'm really keen to see Timothée Chalamet as a lead in like a big sort of sci-fi action film, and I think seeing him with is it Zendaya, right? Is it
Zendaya, yeah. She's not in it as much as you think, though. Well, I mean, like from the book, and neither is Oscar Isaac. Like, don't.
Okay.
Yeah, like, but also here's something as well that you might not have known. This is part 1 of 2, so
it's going to be 2 films.
Yes, this is going to be 2 films.
Are there 2 books?
There's so many books. So Frank Herbert, I think, wrote this and a prequel or a sequel. I can't remember. But then his children took over.
That's interesting because I was seeing on IMDb. So before I was actually wrong when I said there's a miniseries because there's actually 2 miniseries, and the second one, which came out a bit after the first, is literally called Children of Dune. I wonder if there's
that's from the
thing there.
But like it's like planned sequel. Although this sequel has not yet officially been greenlit, Villeneuve has stated that the 2020 film will roughly cover the first half of the novel, with a follow-up covering the remaining half. So there you go. Oh,
okay. So it's off the same book. Here's a question I got for you, because probably the thing that got me the most excited. There's like a very small fight scene. I think it might be a sparring session.
Yes.
And there's some like interesting holographic electrical techniques. What's going on there? It looks like it's their version of like what a lightsaber might be. Or what is that?
So it's not actually it's not a weapon. So it's called a still suit. A still suit is kind of like no, is it the still suit? Wait, hold on. I can't remember what it's called actually, because like there's a still suit which is what they wear out in the desert, which actually protects them. Like it's kind of like it preserves the body's moisture. So because on this planet they need to have water, dude. Like they are. Like it's hot, it's dry, whatever. But the fighting suits, I don't know if that's a still suit, but essentially they put them on as kind of like protection, and for a blade to pierce it, the blade needs to be going at a specific angle at a specific speed to kind of pierce the still suit, like the suit.
Oh.
So it needs to go through slowly. Like it can't be like a fast kind of like really quick attack. It needs to be so the defense is quick, but the attacks are slow.
Right.
Yeah, like it's
interesting.
It's actually really original for something that came out so many years ago.
Well, something that I always get excited when it comes to like sci-fi and sort of action films is like, I love the idea of like it's gonna be a weird thing, but I do think about it. It's like, what's a new way to do combat? So like. Obviously, Star Wars has lightsabers. That's unique. There aren't any other franchises that do lightsabers. Terminator is a unique way of fighting because these are like robots that can walk through bullets and punches, and like they react differently than a human being would, and they can throw each other through shit. Fucking like the Matrix, they can literally dodge bullets and stuff. That's interesting. That movie Wanted, even though it's not great, the idea of curving bullets was unique. And I hate to bring it up again, but Jupiter Ascending, when the guy had like rollerblades that go through the sky, terrible movie, and it looks dumb, but I do like the idea that they tried something different. And like, so that's why it really jumped out at me, because I'm like, okay, it's like they've got these sort of semi-invisible suits on that, but I couldn't tell if they were attacking or defending.
I've got this. They're just called shields, right? Like it's just a shield.
In a video game shield type thing.
Right, yeah, literally. So these defensive shields will permit entry only to objects moving at slow speeds. Depending on the setting of the shield, this speed ranges from 6 to 9 centimeters per second. In other words, no guns or projectile weapons work with someone wearing a shield, making the art of personal combat that much more important in this universe. So these shields also surround their vehicles as well, which is those big kind of like dragonfly-looking spaceships. They're called ornithopters, and also it surrounds the city that they live in as well. So yeah,
that is really cool. So we could be getting like some martial art type shit going on.
Oh yeah,
in a unique sci-fi like way. That's really exciting. I'm particularly excited about that. Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
What do you know about Dave Bautista's character? He's got this weird white look to him. It's kind of is that a still suit, or is that like his character's skin? Is he like an alien?
That's his character's skin. So that's what the Harkonnens look like. So the Harkonnens are kind of like
they're the bad guy family, or is
yes, yeah. To put it kind of like blandly, yeah, they're the bad guy family. They're kind of like really pale. And yeah, his name is Raban. They call him the Beast or Beast. But basically, yeah, he's the nephew of the leader Vladimir Harkonnen.
cool?
And
Vladimir, like Putin.
Yeah, right. But you actually see Vladimir very briefly twice in the trailer. He's the one coming out of that goo. And also he's also the guy that says he's like, kill them. Like that's him. He's kind of like got like this really weird deformity as well. Like he's kind of like got this like disease. And he doesn't look like all the other Harkonnens because he's like super fucked up. But yeah, like he's played by Stella Skateboard. If you've heard that episode of you haven't heard that episode of How Did This Get Made, did you? Like
not the top of my head.
Okay, so it's the actor's name is Stellan Skarsgård, who's been in a bunch of shit. He was in Thor, right? Like he played what's his name? But yeah, like so like Dave Bautista plays one of the Harkonnens. He plays a Raban. So
when's this movie come out? Is it this year or next year?
So that's the thing, right? This movie is still on track for December 2020, but Warner Brothers just delayed Wonder Woman to the 3rd of December 2020, and this is slated for 16th or 13th of December 2020. So it's kind of like these two are not probably going up against each other. So it's likely that this is going to get moved, but it hasn't been moved yet. So yeah.
Yeah. So they'd rather have Wonder Woman be their big film for the month.
Right, exactly.
Have Dune take over next year.
The sandworms, I am so fucking keen for, dude. Like Arrakis is like full of like these sandworms.
So that was actually something that interests me because it's like I was surprised about how not corny it looked. Like I've seen sandworms in movies before. They always look shit. This looked good.
Yeah, so something that came up like that was really interesting to me. Someone described it as it kind of looks like the iris of an eye. So, like, if you look at someone's like eyeball, like with under a microscope, it's got like those, like outside of the pupil, it's got those kind of like pointy, sort of like jagged edges. And I found that like really interesting. But yeah, man, like this is gonna be a huge movie. And like I'm really excited for a sci-fi that is not Star Wars. Like we talked about this on, like Colin and I actually really briefly talked about this on our last bonus episode. I'm just kind of like really burnt out about talking about Star Wars. Like, I still like Star Wars. Star Wars is my jam. I just don't want to talk about it. I think it's only because it's like the fandom has really thrown me off Star Wars kind of thing. Like, it's just become, it's just become so toxic. There is no, I was saying on the bonus episode, and I don't want to spoil the bonus episode so much because we do want subscribers, but people will go out of their way to tear people down, and it's just so like toxic. And there is no more passionate of a fan base than Star Wars, but unfortunately, most of it is just so toxic, and I just can't talk about Star Wars anymore. I'm just really keen to see more sci-fi that I know will be at least good, because I think Denis is just such a good filmmaker. So, well,
the reason I think Star Wars is okay. First of all, I agree with the whole toxic comment, and I do feel a bit of fatigue as well. I don't think it's Disney's fault for pumping it out too much. I think it is the way the fan base reacted,
right? Unfortunately,
but the hard thing with sci-fi is how often do we get a good, unique concept that feels original? Weirdly, right. Dune feels original. It does. I do get those Blade Runner 2049 or whatever the fuck it's called vibes from it. Obviously, it's the same director. This does look a little bit more exciting to me. Just because obviously Blade Runner was going for more of a neo-noir sort of detective story. I don't think this will. But like every time you see it, they always kind of feel like generic ripoff of Star Wars. Like even Star Trek, I hope I don't offend any fans here, but it just feels like, oh, can we have Star Wars? We have Star Wars at home.
I'm a fan of the Star Trek reboot, and I think it's more Star Wars than Star Wars, like often, mostly because it's like the Kelvin trilogy is like has been like even the third one, which wasn't directed by J.J. Abrams, it was produced by him, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's got his style.
Yeah, but like, what else do we have that feels original? Because that feels still a lot like Star Wars. And then I guess we had Guardians of the Galaxy. But its take was like this really fun sort of comedic vibe, but it feels very what modern blockbusters are. And which is fine. And it's a fun popcorn flick, but sometimes I want something a little bit deeper. That's when you get movies like Arrival. That's when you can get movies like Ex Machina and stuff.
I watched that like 2 nights ago, dude. Like it's incredible.
It's a great movie. But a lot of these other ones that do have these unique concepts, they're all just the ideas of what's cool. What I'm excited for is the merging of those two. You're going to give me these cool sci-fi settings and ideas, but like give me that little bit of action fun as well.
I have no doubt
this seems to be a good blending of all those good elements.
Yeah.
And plus you got that cast, so I'm really excited. Yeah.
I do want to mention though, and like I don't really care about this much because I'm not, I'm not in danger of this at all. I don't think that this movie will be anywhere near as accessible as Star Wars. Like it's going to be, it'll be very like Dune is very dense. Like, when you start,
I think that's why I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's going to be more mature.
You're excited to learn about it, right? Like, I mean, like when you watch Game of Thrones, like Game of Thrones didn't tell you right at the start who these people were. Like, you kind of like had to figure it out as the show goes along. And like by the way the characters talk to each other, like they kind of like give each other history and exposition in very clever ways. I think Dune will do that in that way. Like it's not going to be like Star Wars where, look, let's sit down for a while, let's have a flashback or some shit. Like, it's not going to be that shit. Like it'll be, I know it'll be very like heady, like, I
think the difference is Star Wars is for kids, it is trying to sell toys. And I won't be surprised if Dune maybe gets a video game or something, maybe. I don't know. But like it's definitely for a different audience, which is refreshing, I think. And that's why I'm kind of one of the reasons why I'm excited. Let's move on though. I can't wait to see more of Dune. We've got a few more trailers.
I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I don't know why. Like I'm just like, oh, Matt likes Dune.
I'm agreeing with you for once.
I know.
Okay. Let's do these two back to back. We've got some interesting, weird horror related films. So I want to preface this first one with a bit of a quote. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm going to paraphrase it. But Adam Sandler was once quoted saying something under the lines of,
yes.
If Uncut Gems does not get an Oscar, I'm going to do the biggest piece of shit movie I can."
Yes.
Or something to that effect.
So he said that at the Independent Spirit Awards when he won the award for Best Actor.
Right. So the internet is thinking this could be it, and rightly so. Hubie Halloween has Adam Sandler sort of returning to his roots of doing weird characters with very weird voices, about a guy who lives in Salem and loves Halloween, and he's the only one who can save Halloween. I think it looks like trash. Are you on the same boat with me here? This is a big, easy paycheck for Sandler.
What am I doing right now?
You're face palming. Do we just move on?
Okay, so look, so you thankfully do the agenda every episode, so thank you so much for that. And like I knew exactly what this was because I saw it pop up in my newsfeed, and I scrolled right past it until today when we were like, all right, we're talking about this on the show. I was like, all right, cool, fucking let's do it. Crack my fingers, sat back and let this kind of like wash over me until I saw the trailer was like 3 minutes long, and I'm just like. I got a minute in, dude, and I quit. I left. I'm sorry. I know we have kind of like a responsibility to sit here and watch these trailers and at least talk about them. But oh my god, dude, this was. I thought there was something wrong with my speakers when he comes in and talks like with that accent. I actually thought that like my speakers were malfunctioning. That was not the case.
Yeah, it's like he's intentionally trying to be inaudible.
Okay, so is he mentally challenged? Is that what he's doing here?
Well, I think it's a reoccurring theme with a lot of Sandler's characters, especially in like the early 2000s, where
The late 90s, right? With Billy Madison.
No, sorry, late
shit.
90s, yeah, particularly late 90s, actually, where it's like his characters all seem like they are mentally challenged, but that's just him trying to be silly.
Oh, look who's back in tow. Fucking Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider's back. And Kevin James. You know, like, gotta bring the whole band.
Of course.
Gotta bring the whole band.
I think, look, if I can find a piece of nugget of gold in this giant pile of shit, these are the only things I can say. If you're a fan of Sandler's early work and you haven't grown up for some reason, this might be for you. It's definitely not for me. And then the only other thing I could say is I saw a comment on YouTube which was like, oh, that's an interesting observation. And this person said, like, it's interesting to note how many multiple generations of Saturday Night Live are in this. Like, almost everyone with a speaking role was a cast member in Saturday Night Live at some point, which would have been a really interesting and cool thing, a feather in a cap of a film. Just unfortunately, it's in this piece of shit that I will probably never watch.
Adam Sandler and Julie Bowen were the leads in Happy Gilmore. She was the main chick. So, I was like really surprised about that.
Yeah, but I'm happy to move on. And I assume
Shaquille Shaq's in this. What the fuck?
What?
It's so random.
There you go. Holy shit.
Kazam himself.
I feel like you're slowly getting won over by this movie, and I don't want you to.
Look, I'm just going to put this to bed and say I am not.
Okay. Let's move on.
Dude, you should have seen, I viciously turned it off. Like, I've got a laptop. I slammed my laptop lid shut. And I was like, no,
fuck.
You stay away from me, devil movie.
Oh, that's a crack up. Fuck, man. Let's move on to something a little bit different. Freaky is interesting concept for a film. So it's by the director of
It's a body swap film, right?
Well, yeah, it's Freaky Friday, except it's a horror movie.
I didn't catch that. I didn't catch the title kind of like.
There you go.
Nod.
See?
Yeah, there you go.
So, and which makes sense because by the director of Happy Death Day, who was like, what if Groundhog Day was a horror movie? Now this is what if Freaky Friday was a horror? Yeah. So, the killer is played by Vince Vaughn, of all people. Interesting role for him. And this girl, who's the final girl, the usual victim, swaps bodies with the serial killer, who's a clear Michael Myers ripoff. And now it's actually, I think it's a really interesting concept. Like at first, I'm like, oh, it's just this. And then like halfway through the trailer, they're like, fuck, they're kind of winning me over with this idea because now it's like they're showing you the advantages of like what the victim has over the killer. So like, at one point, he's like, she's in the body of the killer, tries to stay at the girl, and she just yells for help. So now he can't do that. So the cops are after him. And they're always like, it's nice to see this fresh take on these generic slasher tropes. Just unfortunately, much like Happy Death Day, the audience it's aimed at is like 13-year-old girls. So I think I will see it, but like, it's going to be very surface level stuff going on. Do you have any other takes on this, Zoe?
Yeah, I think it looks fun, but I will not be saying this. I think for the reasons you said, I'm just not the target audience for this. I can't see myself spending $20 on a ticket for this. Maybe, if it hits Netflix, I'll check it out. But I'm good. Like I was happy. I was happy with the direction that Vince Vaughn was kind of going in for a while, like that really dramatic, really hard hitting kind of like direction that it was going in. Like he was in this movie that was absolutely insane, and he played an absolutely insane person in this movie called that I'm trying to bring up that I'm stalling. Brawl in Cell Block 19 or 99.
Right.
Yeah, so Brawl in Cell Block 99. Dude, that is an intense Vince Vaughn. It's directed by S. Craig Zahler, who did Bone Tomahawk. But yeah, it's intense. Like, I was really happy with that direction he was going in, and I'm just like, I don't know about this. But also, this is really different from Blumhouse. Like, this is, outside of the two Happy Death Day movies, which they did as well, Blumhouse aren't really known for that really kind of, like, lighthearted / horror film. Like, like, they're kind of, like, a bit more serious, like Glass, Halloween, the Purge movies.
Well, I think they also did Fantasy Island, right? And did they do Escape Room? Because I would class.
No, they didn't do Escape Room, and
Because
they
I would
didn't
put
do
those
Fantasy
movies. Okay, well, I'll put those movies in the same category as this. It's kind of like the Fisher Price, My First Horror Movie type category.
Exactly, yeah.
But
they didn't do
Blumhouse, you're
those.
right. You normally associate them with high class, like more sophisticated horror. But I think this is just Blumhouse branching out. Like they know they own the horror space, but they probably have other demographics and target markets they want to hit. And this is just like another cap in their portfolio. Also, I think maybe they just like working with this director because they did those other films with him. And like, look, I only saw the second Happy Death Day, and from my understanding, it's not as good as the first. I didn't like the second one at all, especially how at times I felt like when I was watching a Nickelodeon show where they just stopped to do like a comedy sketch, which often fell flat. But I can appreciate about both this and that, the fact that they're trying to do something different with the genre. They're taking those familiar tropes and try and like switch them up. And I can definitely appreciate that. And I think like that's what we need filmmakers to be doing. We need to like take on new things, even if they are like fucking aimed at like fucking bubblegum pop fucking audience. I might check it out. We'll see how I feel.
Tell you what, man, like Jason Blum's been fucking killing it. Like this is
Oh yeah.
like he must be fucking rich beyond his, like, you know, like, because he also did this year's Invisible Man, and like he's got the Wolfman and Dracula coming up. Like, you know, it's crazy.
Are they doing another Dracula?
They are doing another Dracula. Yeah, like there's no director or anything in it, but it's in Jason Blum's resume for the future. So
Who would play a good Dracula? I'm thinking. Who would I want to see play Dracula?
Javier Bardem.
I gotta Google that. Who is that?
He's from No Country for Old Men. He's going to be in Dune. He played the villain in Skyfall. Yeah.
Harvey, what was his last name?
Javier Bardem. How do you not know Javier Bardem?
AB. I'm trying to find his face. How do you spell his last name?
Do you have a podcast?
I'm on IMDb.
Bardem. Javier Bardem.
B-A-R-D. It's not like you're fucking talking about George Clooney or some shit.
Well, okay, but like, I mean, No Country for Old Men. Like, he's the villain. He's the...
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see that. I don't know who else I would pick. I don't know why my mind's going to fucking Johnny Depp. But
yeah, he was originally considered for the Invisible Man, actually.
Yeah, I think I did hear that. Maybe that could be the next MDF game. Who should play Dracula? Anyways, which could be a segue into the fact that we don't have an MDF game this week. I just want to make, before we get into our review, I will just make a quick shout out to a trailer that was dropped. There's a documentary coming out that I'm excited for, which is produced by Seth Rogen, Evan, what's his usual writing partner? Goldberg, I think. Goldberg, that's right. And it's I've been looking forward to it for a while. It's called Console Wars. It's from about in the 90s how Nintendo went up against Sega. Nintendo of America went up against Sega America in a very ruthless PR advertising campaign against each other. It was savage. What their lengths they would go to destroy the competition. And the reason I'm excited about this as well is because at the same time, I'm currently watching a documentary series on Netflix called High Score, which is about the history of video games. And it's narrated by Charles Martinet, who voices Mario, which, you know, so if you're a retro gamer like me, keep an eye out for that because it's going to be good, I think.
Nice.
Let's move. Oh, sorry.
Before we do, I just wanted to quickly mention someone who passed away this week.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all right. We just completely, I think, went past it. But the late great Dame Diana Rigg, you know, she's look. The last episode we were talking about Chadwick Boseman and we were kind of eulogizing him. She's not someone on that level in terms of like popularity, but in terms of like quality of work that she did. Look, a lot of people will know her as Olenna Tyrell from Game of Thrones. You know, like just her last scene in that entire show, dude, like caps off just an amazing character that she really built for herself. Like, you know, tells Cersei it was me. Like, you know, I wanted to know, like, you know, because she's confessing to the murder of Joffrey. But she was also in what is considered one of the best Bond films, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, where she played Tracy. She was in a show called The Avengers. Not The Avengers that you're thinking of. It's a spy show.
The English one, right?
Right.
Is it English?
Yeah, English. She played Emma Peel. But this is someone who pretty much created a body of work for from 1959 to current. So think about that, dude. 59 to current. That's
She stayed active.
over 60 years she's been active for, and man, like she will be remembered, honestly. Her last movie is an Edgar Wright movie, and it's Edgar Wright's upcoming Last Night in Soho.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, like, but like, just what a way to go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. But for now, so rest in power, much love. For now, let's move on to our solo review for this week. We don't have New Mutants. We'll be covering that next episode. But for now, Zoheb is going to talk about the social dilemma. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Fuck. I should have paid attention to that.
When you go to Google and type in climate change is, you're going to see different results depending on where you live and the particular things that Google knows about your interests.
That's not by accident. That's a design technique.
What I want people to know is that everything they're doing online is being watched, is being tracked. Every single action you take is carefully monitored and recorded.
A lot of people think Google's just a search box and Facebook's just a place to see what my friends are doing. What they don't realize is there's entire teams of engineers whose job is to use your psychology against you.
I was the co-inventor of the Facebook like button.
I was the president of Pinterest,
Google, Twitter, Instagram.
There were meaningful changes happening around the world because of these platforms. I think we were naive about the flip side of that coin.
We get rewarded by hearts, likes, thumbs up, and we conflate that with value and we conflate it with truth.
A whole generation is more anxious, more depressed.
I always felt like fundamentally it was a force for good. I don't know if I feel that way anymore.
Facebook discovered that they were able to affect real-world behavior and emotions without ever triggering the user's awareness. They are completely clueless.
So The Social Dilemma is a Netflix original. Sorry, Jesus Christ. We're huge professionals here. But like, yeah, so look, The Social Dilemma is a documentary drama hybrid, which is actually really interesting. Like it's got actors like with scripts and an actual cinematography, plus it's kind of like mixed with like a documentary style. So there's like talking heads, like there's kind of like social media staff members, like employees that are actually talking to you about the situation. But while they're talking, there is a kind of like a dramatization of it, of like what's happening. And that drama is actually telling a narrative at the same time, which is really interesting and something that I've never seen before. But look, this is a fantastic movie. It's only an hour and a half, and it's something that should absolutely be seen. It talks about it talks about the inherent dangers of social media, and I know that is something that is so like, kind of like being there, done that. Like, it's like, okay, we are aware of like the social media issue, like, like people get addicted, blah, blah, blah. But this actually kind of like goes into specifics. It uses ex-employees of Twitter, Google, Facebook, what have you, Pinterest, people who have actually left those companies and are like actually talking out about like how these companies, it's kind of like an expose in a lot of ways. Like, like these employees talk about how in their companies that they worked at, they would literally use terms to get you, the customer, aka the product, back to their platform. And just the kind of like nefarious and sinister ways that kind of like go about that. And the way the culture is like kind of like geared towards all about bringing you back, like keeping you coming back, like, and the way that's kind of like shown in terms of like the actual narrative, like how it's dramatized, is actually kind of ingenious. Like I was like, oh wow, that's like a really, really clever way to show that. The way that social media impacts children, especially in terms of like, the way they perceive themselves, if they look at themselves in the mirror, their body image, whether they're getting enough likes or not, really affects their mental state, but also just the way that social media impacts the political sphere. Whether Facebook,
so they get into that.
Yeah, they do. Like whether Facebook had a hand in the 2016 election. It's actually really fascinating. And it's only an hour and a half. Like it's not like a 3-hour documentary or anything like that. It's really well worth watching. But here's kind of like my sort of like little ding against it. And this is with every documentary, right? So I don't think I'll ever give a documentary a full 10, unless it really kind of, fully connects with me in an emotional way, which this did. But again, I was still very much aware of the fact that this was made by a director with a specific viewpoint. Like, there's no, in the movie, there's no kind of like acknowledgement that Facebook and Instagram and these social media sites deliver information to us faster and efficiently than any other way possible. Like, the way that we were able to find out about Black Lives Matter, doesn't happen without social media. George Floyd's death does not go viral without social media. These protests do not happen without social media. And these protests, look, we're living them right now, so I don't know the outcome. But these protests,
even like information about coronavirus,
right? Coronavirus, exactly. But like these protests could lead to change. I don't know. Like it could lead to better. Yeah. So like it's one of those things where it's just like this is kind of like a notification of the dangers of the social media applications, but also the companies that are behind those social media applications and their intent, like what they kind of like set out to do, and like how like sinister they go about it, like in this, like the ways they go about it, and the people that they target, usually people who are not of age. But again, I don't think it's fully being fair. I think there's it's trying to tell its story, and it does, absolutely. But I think if you do a documentary, you kind of need to show the other side a little bit as well. A little bit. They kind of like ignore it wholeheartedly. But I guess, the very fact that I brought it up means that I already know, so whatever.
Yeah. What would you give it out of 10?
Okay, so I kind of want to change my scoring for the podcast, for the entire podcast, not just this movie. I kind of like, I don't know, I was doing some thinking over the weekend. I don't really dig the 1 to 10 scale, so I'm just gonna go with recommend or not recommend. And I know that's easy, like it's an easy kind of like thing, but I just rather this. Like, to be honest, you can still give it 1 out of 10. I know. I'm sorry. Like, I'm looking at your face and you're just like, ugh. But
I think this is a conversation for off air.
Yeah, I mean, but look, it's just the way that I'd rather go about things for me. I'd recommend it. I think you should definitely see it, but keep in mind that it's made by someone with a particular vision. And it's not 100% the full picture, I think.
Well, with documentary, I've always said I think documentaries are hard to review.
Yeah.
Because the way I'd take a review on is like, how do you criticize a film? How do you praise a film? Well, it's easier to criticize than praise, always, I think. And the way you criticize is like, what would you do better? Or how would you change it? If you can't say how they could do it better or say what's wrong, it's hard to justify a score, And with documentary, like that's tenfold because, well, first of all, it's not journalism, so they're not legally, or you could argue ethically, forced to show all sides. Like they can cherry pick information as they wish. I know that was a thing with Netflix's Making of a Murderer. That was a thing. People were saying like they left out a lot of stuff apparently, and for their narrative. And it's when you got to remember, like documentaries, they're meant to entertain you. Like that's their goal. Like they want you to think it's good, so they want to make you feel a certain way. So sometimes they will manipulate facts for entertainment's sake, or that applies to movies based on real life stories as well. And I think people need to be aware of that.
Yeah, people need to be aware.
If there's an agenda, they're going to throw an agenda at you. You may not even realize it sometimes.
Yeah, but it's not even like agenda. It's also like we need to fit all this information into 90 minutes. So kind of like take it as a grain of salt, and that this is only kind of like surface level information and really easy to digest information. If you want more information, you should do research in your own time.
Yeah.
And
that's part of the problem with, I think, our day and age. A lot of people will consider watching a documentary on Netflix as research, and I guess to a point it is, but you got to remember, like it's at the end of the day, it's one person's opinion, because that director or editor can cherry pick what they want. And at the end of the day, like it's about making money sometimes. Although, you know, I'm not saying there are no documentaries out there doing good and getting the word out about things. But yeah, I think it's really tough to critique a documentary in particular.
So did I do a good job? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no. I'm saying in general. I'm saying even when I have to, when I do one,
I remember when we
that's
talked
sort
about
of why.
don't fuck with cats. Like we were like, this is a little tough. Yeah.
Yeah, that one in particular. So I do watch some documentaries, but I usually don't even bring them up on the podcast. Just because it's like, I don't know, it's like a whole other different type of medium. It's sometimes. But anyways, let's move on to nothing.
Nothing.
We don't have an MDF.
I was like, what are you talking about?
I guess we'll wrap up today, folks. That's awkward. Thank you very much for joining us today on Midnight Double Feature. This is an upcoming attractions episode. So as you can tell, it's all about reviews, news, and more. Make sure you check out the podcast for our feature presentation episodes where we take a big movie that we like or don't like or whatever, and we break it down pretty much scene by scene. Coming up very soon is 7. Keep your eyes out for that. Make sure to join the Green Room, which is our Patreon. Follow us on Patreon for merch discounts and exclusive bonus episodes. Zoheb and I are about to record one about Batman games and all that stuff, which will be pretty exciting. Also, midnightdoublefeature.com where you can find the merch. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Unless you just saw that documentary Zoe was talking about and you don't want to use social media. In that case, I respect your opinion.
Nice.
But you can join our community group, The After Party, on Facebook as well, so you can become our BFFs. Give us 5 stars on iTunes. Other promotional plugs go here. That's it for us this week on Midnight Double Feature. Thanks for joining us. I'm Matt. That's Zoheb. Laters.